Hello HFY fans, welcome to Outer World. If you like the story, please subscribe to our channel and leave a like. This may mean nothing to you, but helps us a ton. Without further ado, let's start with today's story. Admiral Zavak of the Kraath Dominion stood proudly on the bridge of his flagship, the Razor's Edge. The ship was an imposing fortress of armor plating and gleaming plasma cannons, surrounded by a massive fleet of warships stretching as far as the eye could see. Countless ships of all shapes and sizes hovered in formation, poised to descend upon Earth. Zavak's crimson scales shimmered in the harsh light of the command deck, his serrated teeth bared in a vicious grin. Beside him, Commander Virex, a lanky insectoid with razor-sharp mandibles, clicked impatiently. "We outnumber them 10,000 to 1, Admiral," Virex chittered, his multi-lensed eyes fixed on the blue-green sphere spinning peacefully below. "The human homeworld will fall within minutes." Zavak allowed himself a low, rumbling chuckle. "Humans are foolish. They've spent their existence squabbling among themselves, never uniting under a single banner. They are weak and divided. This conquest will be swift and glorious." He turned to his communications officer. "Send the signal. Demand their immediate surrender." A burst of static filled the bridge as the galactic communication array powered up, broadcasting Zavak's message to Earth. His voice, dripping with disdain, echoed through the vacuum. "This is Admiral Zavak of the Kraath Dominion. Humanity, you are outnumbered and outmatched. Surrender your planet and your people to our rule or be obliterated. You have one standard cycle to comply." Silence fell over the bridge. Zavak waited, his claws tapping the armrest of his command throne. He fully expected panic and pleas for mercy, or at the very least, desperate bargaining. Instead, the response was laughter. Zavak's brow furrowed. "What is that?" Virex adjusted the audio feed, amplifying the signal. Laughter continued, mixed with indistinct chatter and muffled voices. Then a single human voice broke through, casual and almost bored. "Oh hey, Kraath guys. Are you the new space idiots trying to pick a fight with Earth? Nice fleet. Looks like you're trying way too hard." Zavak's eyes narrowed. "Identify yourself." The human didn't bother to answer directly. Instead, he called out to someone in the background. "Hey, can someone tell the Dominion fleet to take a number?" "We're busy," Zavak growled, barely restraining his temper. "You are surrounded by the might of the Dominion. Your defenses are insignificant. Surrender now, or face annihilation." The human voice returned, still annoyingly nonchalant. "Listen, bud. You're not the first galactic morons to show up thinking you're unstoppable. Usually, we just let you embarrass yourselves and go home. But I guess you need a more personal lesson." Zavak's patience snapped. "Prepare the plasma lances. We'll burn their cities to ash." Before the weapons could fire, dozens of unidentified signals appeared on their sensors. Dozens, then hundreds, and finally thousands of ships popping into existence all around the Dominion fleet. Virex chittered in confusion. "Sir, detecting massive reinforcements. They're not human designs." Zavak's gaze shot to the tactical display. Ships of every imaginable configuration surrounded the Dominion armada, sleek organic vessels from the Relani Confederacy, bulky armored craft from the Grunash Union, even bizarre crystalline structures from the Virex Hive. "What in the void is happening?" Zavak snarled. The human voice crackled back to life, far less casual now, sharp and confident. "You made one big mistake, Lizard Breath. You thought humans fought alone. Newsflash, you mess with Earth, you mess with everyone." Zavak bared his teeth. "Allies? Preposterous. No species in the galaxy would risk annihilation for the sake of a Death World race." A new voice chimed in, cold and calculated. "This is Commander Harrock of the Relani Confederacy. You will stand down immediately or face collective retribution." Virex sputtered. "Why would the Relani ally with the humans?" The human voice returned, sounding almost proud. "Because we helped them build their first planetary shield generator. Didn't like the space dust problem their planet kept having." Another signal popped up, a booming voice from the Grunash Union. "This is War Chief Vornak. Humans saved our colonies from starvation by sharing their agricultural techniques. If you attack them, you face our wrath." A distorted, echoing voice from the Virex Hive clicked through. "Humans taught us to synthesize new energy sources. We will not forget their aid in our survival." Zavak's head spun as the sheer weight of support surrounding Earth became clear. Every ship was fully armed and ready, bristling with defensive and offensive capabilities. He could feel his earlier confidence evaporating. You're all mad," he shouted. "This is our conquest. We outnumber you." The human voice chuckled, low and confident. "Outnumber us? Buddy, you never stood a chance. You fight one of us, you fight all of us. So go ahead. Fire the first shot. Let's see how that works out for you." Zavak's claws trembled. He looked to Virex, who stared at him with wide, fearful eyes. "Sir," Virex whispered, "if we attack, we will be annihilated." The reality settled over Zavak like a suffocating weight. The mighty Dominion, the pride of their race, was outmatched not by human numbers, but by the alliance humanity had forged across the stars. He gritted his teeth, hissing out the command. "Stand down. Signal full retreat." The human voice didn't gloat, didn't mock. Just one final line as the Dominion forces began to withdraw. "Smart choice. Next time, maybe do some homework before picking a fight. Earth doesn't fight alone." As the Razor's Edge pulled away, Zavak glared at the retreating planet, his pride shattered. Earth, that insignificant, chaotic world, had just taught him the most humiliating lesson of his life. The Kraath Dominion's defeat sent shockwaves through the galaxy. Every faction, from the mighty Virex Hive to the distant Glyneth Empire, was abuzz with the news. The Razor's Edge, the Dominion's flagship, was now limping back to Kraath space with its scaly tail tucked between its legs. Admiral Zavak sat hunched over his personal terminal, reviewing the battle logs with a burning sense of humiliation. The data confirmed it. No human casualties, no Earth defenses even scratched, and his once invincible fleet had been forced to retreat without firing a single shot. How did it come to this?" he muttered, his claws scraping over the metal console. Commander Virex stood at attention, his mandibles clicking nervously. "Admiral, the High Command has requested a full report. They are demanding an explanation for the, incident." Zavak glared at him. "You mean the utter humiliation of our entire armada at the hands of a Death World species and their alien lapdogs?" Virex hesitated. "Yes, sir. They phrased it differently." The Admiral slammed his fist on the console, causing sparks to fly. "We should have wiped them out. A single Death World species standing alone against the might of the Dominion. Ridiculous." "Sir," Virex said cautiously, "it appears they were not standing alone. The intelligence reports indicate that Earth's alliance web spans nearly every quadrant. Dozens of minor factions and outlying systems openly declared their loyalty to humanity after the encounter." Zavak's claws clenched. "They're not a military power, they're glorified scavengers. How did they convince half the galaxy to fight on their behalf?" Virex hesitated, choosing his words carefully. "It seems humans have a tendency to help others even when they gain nothing in return. They provided food during the Great Grunash famine, shared energy technology with the Virex, and even sent medics to assist after the Selkan plague. There are hundreds of documented cases of human intervention, aid, and cooperation." Zavak's eyes burned with rage. "You're telling me that sentimentality and charity have made them unassailable?" Virex nodded. "In a sense, yes, sir. They have built loyalty through compassion. While we conquered and enslaved, they helped and protected. The galaxy likes them." Zavak bared his fangs. "Pathetic. The galaxy will fear us again. I will not be remembered as the admiral who let the Dominion's pride crumble before a bunch of hairless apes and their sycophants." On Earth, the aftermath of the victory was chaotic, but celebratory. The streets of every major city were filled with cheering crowds, waving banners with messages like, "United we stand," "Allies forever," "You fight one, you fight all." At the United Earth Defense Headquarters, Captain Jonah Reeves stood at the podium, addressing a crowd of reporters and representatives from various allied species. His uniform was neat, his stance confident, and his expression resolute. "I won't pretend this victory was easy," Reeves began, his deep voice carrying a reassuring tone. "When the Kraath Dominion threatened Earth, they thought they were facing one planet. But they didn't realize that Earth's strength doesn't come from firepower or numbers. It comes from loyalty, friendship, and standing up for those who stood up for us." The room erupted in applause, with several alien representatives nodding in agreement. A Relani diplomat with dark, glassy skin and a glowing crest raised his hand. "Captain Reeves, what message would you send to other powers who may consider challenging humanity?" Reeves smiled with a calm, almost amused confidence. "The message is simple. If you fight one of us, you fight all of us. Humanity doesn't forget our friends, and we sure as hell don't abandon them." The crowd erupted again, and the broadcast spread throughout human and alien territories alike, solidifying Earth's position as a powerful diplomatic force. Back on the Dominion's homeworld, Admiral Zavak knelt before the High Chancellor's throne, a massive, imposing structure made of black iron and molten veins of crimson light. The Chancellor himself, Supreme Overlord Kraath, loomed over Zavak with cold, unforgiving eyes. "Explain." "Now," Kraath hissed. Zavak dared not look up. "My lord, I underestimated the Human Alliance network. I believed them to be isolated and weak. I did not anticipate the sheer scale of their support." Kraath sneered. "You let mere apes humiliate our proud fleet. You let them stand at the center of a galactic coalition, and now we are the laughingstock of the quadrant." Zavak swallowed his pride. "I will correct this, my lord. I will find a way to divide their allies, to sow mistrust and fracture their unity. We will strike when they are alone and vulnerable." The Chancellor's gaze was cold and unforgiving. "You have one cycle to prove your worth, Zavak. Fail me again, and you will beg for death before I am done with you." Zavak bowed deeply. "I will not fail you again, Supreme Overlord." Across the stars, factions debated the implications of humanity's victory. Some were inspired by the loyalty and dedication of Earth's allies, while others began to reconsider their stance toward humanity, either to gain their favor or avoid provoking their wrath. The Virex Hive matriarch, a vast crystalline entity pulsating with light, addressed her council. "The human victory has proven that kindness can build empires just as strong as conquest. We must consider forming stronger bonds with Earth to secure our own position." The Grunash war chief, meanwhile, bellowed to his gathered warriors, "Humans did not just win, they defended their friends with a fury that put our bloodlust to shame. We will honor them as worthy warriors." In the background, news of human diplomacy and cooperation flooded the galactic networks. Captains and ambassadors from countless species shared stories of how humans had saved them, stood by them, and taught them how to thrive. Admiral Zavak paced the command deck of his flagship, the Razor's Edge, frustration boiling under his scales. The High Command's warning still echoed in his mind: one cycle to fix his disgrace or face unthinkable consequences. His second-in-command, Commander Virex, approached cautiously. "Admiral, our intelligence teams have compiled a list of human allies. It appears their bonds are not purely political or military. Many alliances were formed through personal relationships and acts of kindness." Zavak turned with a snarl. "How is that possible? Alliances are forged through strength and conquest, not sentiment and favors." Virex hesitated before continuing. "Reports indicate that human engineers assisted the Virex Hive when their energy reserves failed, and human medics treated Grunash warriors after a devastating plague. Their relationships are not bound by contracts or treaties. They're rooted in loyalty and gratitude." Zavak clenched his claws. Then we must break that loyalty, spread rumors that humans betrayed their allies, create doubt. If we fracture their unity, we can strike when they're isolated. Virex nodded, issuing the orders to the Dominion's propaganda network. Within hours, broadcasts spread across the galaxy, depicting fabricated stories of human betrayal, edited footage showing humans abandoning allies, and manipulated reports claiming Earth's forces stood idle while allies were attacked. Back on Earth, Captain Jonah Reeves watched the Dominion's propaganda broadcasts on a massive screen in the United Earth Defense Headquarters. Beside him, Ambassador Trenna, a Relani diplomat with dark, glassy skin, looked concerned. "Captain, these lies are spreading rapidly," Trenna said, her voice tense. "Some factions are already questioning their alliances." Reeves nodded grimly. "The Dominion thinks they can break our bonds with cheap lies. They don't understand what it means to earn loyalty through sacrifice." He tapped a command on his tablet, and the screen displayed dozens of messages from allied species, some confused, others angry. Reeves took a breath and spoke into the microphone, his message broadcasting to every allied world. "To our friends and allies across the galaxy, the Kraath Dominion is trying to divide us with lies and deceit. They want you to believe that humanity would abandon those we've fought and bled beside. Let me make this clear. Earth does not break its promises. We stand with those who have stood with us, always." The broadcast switched to footage from past battles, showing human soldiers fighting alongside Virex, Grunash, and Relani forces, lifting fallen allies, carrying wounded to safety, and sharing food and medicine. Reeves continued, his voice strong and unwavering. "The Dominion may try to sow doubt, but they will never understand what makes us stronger together. We fight for each other, not out of obligation, but out of respect and loyalty. If you hear their lies, remember who stood with you when the darkness fell." On the Virex homeworld, Matriarch Thalkan listened to the broadcast with her inner council. Her crystalline form glowed with pulsating light as she processed the message. One of her advisors, Karlak, hesitated. "The Dominion's broadcasts have reached our outer colonies. Some are questioning why we would risk our people for Earth." Thalkan gave a low hum. "Were it not for human engineers, our core reactors would have failed during the solar crisis. They asked for nothing in return, only that we share knowledge in the future. The Dominion's lies are transparent and desperate. Spread our own message. Let the galaxy know the truth of humanity's loyalty." Across the stars, similar responses echoed from other species. The Grunash war chief Vornak made a declaration of allegiance, reminding his people how human medics saved their children during the plague. The Relani Confederacy issued a statement condemning the Dominion's propaganda, reinforcing that humanity had proven its honor in countless battles. Admiral Zavak stared at the reports flooding in, faction after faction rejecting the falsehoods, condemning the Dominion for spreading lies. The more the Dominion tried to discredit humanity, the more steadfast the Allies became. Commander Virex hesitated before reporting. "Sir, the High Command is demanding an update. They are displeased with our lack of progress." Zavak snarled, pacing the command deck. "How can they be so blind? These alliances should have crumbled under pressure. Why do they defend the humans so vehemently?" Virex considered his words carefully. "Perhaps because human loyalty is not built on fear or domination. It's built on trust and sacrifice. We can't break what they've earned through years of dedication and support." Zavak turned sharply, his scales flashing in the harsh light. "Enough of this foolish sentiment. If we cannot break their alliances, we will crush their morale. Prepare the orbital annihilator. We'll target their largest city, reduce it to ash as a warning to their allies." As the orbital annihilator charged its massive energy core, detecting the largest human population center, the Dominion fleet suddenly picked up a massive energy signature approaching from behind. "Sir," Virex barked, "we're detecting a massive fleet incoming, over 2,000 ships." Zavak's eyes widened. "Human reinforcements?" Virex analyzed the signals. "Negative. It's the Grunash Union, the Relani Confederacy, and the Virex Hive, along with dozens of minor factions. They're forming a defensive perimeter around Earth. The transmission crackled, and a familiar voice came through. It was War Chief Vornak. "Admiral Zarvak, you have one chance to stand down and retreat. You will not harm our allies. The next shot fired will be your last." Zarvak froze, realizing the gravitational weight of the situation. Even the orbital annihilator, capable of wiping cities off the map, couldn't withstand a unified counterattack of this magnitude. In his final act of defiance, Zarvak spat into the comms. "You think this will save humanity? You'll all regret choosing Earth over the Dominion." War Chief Vornak's growling response was sharp and unwavering. "You don't get it, Zarvak. We didn't choose Earth. We chose family. And humans. They've earned that title 100 times over. Now retreat, before I feed your ships to the void." Zarvak's scales paled, and he knew his options were gone. With a defeated snarl, he gave the order. "Full retreat. Disengage the orbital annihilator." The Kraath Dominion was in turmoil. News of their humiliating retreat had spread across the galaxy faster than a solar flare. The broadcast of War Chief Vornak's ultimatum was being replayed on galactic networks, captioned with phrases like, "The day the Dominion bowed down," and "When humans and their allies stood united." Admiral Zarvak was summoned to appear before the Supreme Overlord Kraath and the rest of the High Command. He knew that if he couldn't justify his failure, his career, and possibly his life, would end. The High Command chamber was vast and imposing, lined with ornate carvings of past victories. The Supreme Overlord sat on an elevated throne, flanked by elite guards, his black armor reflecting the eerie red light of the chamber. Zarvak stood at attention, forcing himself not to tremble. Kraath leaned forward, his sharp reptilian eyes narrowing. "Explain to me how our finest fleet, the pride of the Dominion, was driven away by a disorganized, primitive species and their band of misfit allies." Zarvak swallowed hard. "My lord, I underestimated the depth of human alliances. I believed Earth to be isolated, and the information we gathered was insufficient." One of the High Command generals, an elderly Kraath with scarred scales, scoffed. "Insufficient? Or did you simply lack the fortitude to complete the conquest?" Zarvak bristled, but he held his tongue. "The humans and their allies were prepared to fight to the death. Their bond is not rooted in fear or control, but in mutual loyalty and respect. Breaking such a coalition would require more than military might. It would take years of manipulation and coercion." The Supreme Overlord's voice was cold and unyielding. "We do not manipulate, we conquer. If your failure stems from cowardice, I will have your head." Zarvak's jaw tightened. "No cowardice, my lord. I simply failed to predict the depth of their unity. Humans have forged alliances with races we never considered worthy of respect. They taught the Relani to shield their worlds, gave the Grunash methods to expand their agriculture, and showed the Virex how to synthesize new energy sources. They don't just ally, they uplift." Silence fell, broken only by the Overlord's low, rumbling growl. "You mean to say that humans have become a catalyst of growth for other species?" Zarvak nodded. "Yes, my lord. Their influence goes beyond diplomacy. They empower others, and in turn, those others stand by them unwaveringly. It's not loyalty born of fear. It's loyalty earned through trust and shared triumph." Kraath's eyes narrowed thoughtfully. "It seems we must rethink our strategy. Perhaps brute force is not the answer. We will have to isolate them, weaken their bonds one by one." While the Dominion licked its wounds, Earth's allies were celebrating their victory. Major cities on Relani Prime, Grunash Core, and Virex Prime were filled with joyous gatherings, singing songs of brotherhood and loyalty. In the Galactic Forum, representatives from dozens of species gathered for a unity summit where Captain Jonah Reeves took the stage. The massive auditorium was filled with beings of every shape and size, their collective energy vibrant and uplifting. Reeves adjusted his collar and looked out at the vast audience. Today, we didn't just defend Earth. We defended the idea that loyalty and compassion are stronger than fear and domination. The Kraath Dominion thought they could break our spirit, but they failed to understand one simple truth. Humanity never fights alone. Applause and cheers echoed through the hall. A Grunash warrior raised his massive fist. "We stand with Earth until our dying breath. You are brothers to us." A R'hllani diplomat, glowing with excitement, added, "Your support during our energy crisis saved our world. We will forever be indebted to you." Even a Virex representative, whose crystalline form shimmered with emotion, spoke up. "We owe our survival to your ingenuity. You showed us that even in the darkest times, there is light to be found through cooperation." In the corners of the galaxy, where news of the Kraath retreat had just reached, other factions were taking note. On the Zephyrian homeworld, Supreme Strategist Loric studied the broadcast with wary curiosity. These humans, they form networks not of subjugation, but of mutual respect. This makes them far more dangerous than any simple conqueror. His advisor, a stoic analyst, nodded. Indeed, an army united by choice rather than coercion will fight without hesitation, even to the death. The Dominion underestimated this factor. We must be cautious in underestimating Earth. Meanwhile, in the distant Zaltan Confederacy, President Zylar observed the celebrations with a mixture of admiration and fear. Humans and their allies fought as one collective force. They are not merely a threat, they are a beacon of resilience. We must consider diplomacy rather than conflict. Back on Earth, Captain Reeves addressed his own people from the steps of the United Earth Defense Headquarters. Behind him, holographic projections displayed the vast Alliance fleet, reminding everyone of the unity they had achieved. "We did not win today because of firepower or technology. We won because of friendship, loyalty, and the willingness to fight for more than just ourselves." The Kraath Dominion wanted to conquer Earth, but they failed to realize that Earth is not just a planet, it's a family, and that family now spans half the galaxy. The crowd roared, chanting, "One fight, one family. One fight, one family." Reeves looked over the cheering crowd and took a breath. "Let this day stand as a reminder to the galaxy. You fight one of us, you fight all of us. That's the spirit of humanity. That's why we'll never be outnumbered." Despite the public display of unity, Admiral Zavak remained determined to rebuild his forces. In his private quarters, he reviewed every bit of data, trying to find a weak link in the alliance. If he could isolate just one ally, the rest might fall apart. He swore vengeance, his pride and reputation tarnished. But for now, he could only plot in the shadows, knowing that any direct attack would be crushed by the sheer unity of Earth and its allies. Admiral Zavak sat hunched over his data console, analyzing endless streams of intelligence reports and combat logs. His mind was a whirlpool of frustration and rage. His once proud fleet had been humiliated, and the Dominion was a laughingstock across the galaxy. He had tried propaganda and lies, only to see them backfire spectacularly. He had attempted to intimidate Earth with the orbital annihilator, but even that threat was met with overwhelming resistance. Now, his only hope was to find a way to splinter the alliance. Commander Virex entered, looking wary. "Admiral, we've received word that a diplomatic summit is being held on Celesta 9, organized by the R'hllani Confederacy. The humans are sending representatives, as well as delegates from the Grunash Union and the Virex Hive." Zavak's eyes gleamed with a hint of malice. "A summit, you say? If we can sabotage that meeting and make it look like humans betrayed their allies, we might finally fracture their unity. Prepare the infiltration team. I want our best spies on this mission." The grand halls of the Celesta 9 diplomatic complex were bustling with activity. The towering crystalline architecture glowed with soft blue light, symbolizing peace and unity. Delegates from over 30 species were present, discussing strategies for mutual defense and cooperation. Captain Jonah Reeves stood at the center, speaking to Ambassador Trenner from the R'hllani Confederacy. "This summit is important," he said. "If we can show the galaxy that unity is our strength, more factions might join us." Trenna nodded, her glowing crest pulsating with excitement. "The Grunash war chief is already drafting a pact of mutual defense. This could be the beginning of a new alliance, one built not on fear, but on solidarity." As they spoke, hidden Dominion operatives moved through the shadows, carrying disruptor charges and cloaking devices. Their mission was simple: create chaos and make it look like human betrayal. Just as Captain Reeves was about to take the stage to give his speech, a massive explosion rocked the complex, sending shards of crystalline architecture cascading to the floor. Alarms blared, and guards rushed to secure the area. Grunash warriors immediately took defensive positions, while Virex drones scanned the area for saboteurs. R'Lani diplomats were evacuated to secure chambers. Reeves remained on the platform, using his comms to coordinate the response. "Get the injured out of here. Establish a perimeter," he barked, maintaining his composure. A R'Lani guard rushed over. "Captain, surveillance footage shows humans planting explosives in the East Wing." Reeves frowned. "That doesn't make sense. All human personnel were accounted for in the main hall." Just then, an urgent transmission came through from War Chief Vornak. "Humans, did you betray us? Are you trying to sabotage our unity?" Reeves didn't hesitate. "War Chief, this is a setup. Dominion agents are trying to make it look like we're responsible. I need your forces to hold their position and help secure the area. If we panic, the Dominion wins." Vornak hesitated, but finally growled, "I trust you, Reeves. We will hold our ground." Reeves quickly accessed the security network, using human hacking tools to override the damaged systems. He pulled up surveillance data, filtering through false feeds and corrupted files. Finally, he found what he needed: footage of Dominion operatives disguising themselves as humans and planting explosives. He patched the footage directly to the Galactic Broadcast Network, projecting it on the summit's main holo display. Delegates froze as they watched the clear evidence of Dominion sabotage. Ambassador Trenna spoke into her comms. "Attention, all delegates. The attack was staged by the Kraath Dominion. Humanity is not at fault. We must stand united against their treachery." The realization rippled through the assembly. Reeves took the podium and spoke with a calm, firm voice. "They tried to divide us because they knew they couldn't defeat us united. But the Dominion underestimated the strength of our bonds. Let this be a message to the galaxy. No lie, no sabotage, no threat can break the unity we've forged." Back on the razor's edge, Admiral Zarvak watched the broadcast with horror. His plan had not only failed, but it had strengthened the alliance even further. Commander Rhynex approached cautiously. "The High Command has been notified, Admiral. They are not pleased." Zarvak could feel his fate closing in, the bitter taste of defeat settling like ash on his tongue. As the broadcast continued, War Chief Vornak's voice cut through. "To the Kraath Dominion," Vornak snarled. "You thought you could shatter our bonds with deception and cowardice. You failed. Humanity has proven their worth and loyalty time and again. We will stand with Earth until the stars fade from the sky. If you dare attack them again, you will face all of us. This is our final warning." Zarvak's claws clenched, his scales pale. He knew that there would be no redemption after this. His defeat wasn't just military, it was ideological. The Dominion's way of conquest and dominance had crumbled before the spirit of unity and cooperation that humanity had fostered. The summit ended with the signing of the Galactic Pact of Unity, binding Earth and its allies into a formal coalition. Humanity was no longer seen as a backwater death world, but as a trusted partner and protector. Captain Reeves stood at the edge of the observation deck, watching ships from dozens of species departing in perfect harmony. Ambassador Trenna joined him, a sense of pride in her stance. "You did it," she said softly. "You proved that loyalty and friendship are more than just words. They're unbreakable bonds." Reeves smiled faintly. "We didn't do it alone. That's the whole point. You fight one of us, you fight all of us. That's not just a slogan, it's our way of life." Across the galaxy, stories spread about how humanity and their allies stood united, forging a new era of cooperation. And for the Dominion, once feared and mighty, it was the beginning of the end. Zavak, stripped of his rank and honor, could only watch as his empire crumbled from within, factions splintering, citizens doubting the old ways. The galaxy had changed, and it would never be the same.